Thank you very much, PS, for affording us the opportunity to talk to you. And we really value this opportunity.
Well, thank you for having me, Costa. So, but let's roll on.
So, the SADC Summit came and went.
Correct.
But we need to look at beyond the headlines. And we must say that was historic in terms of attendance.
Yep.
And being hosted at one of the iconic buildings, the new Parliament building.
That's correct.
In Mount Hamden. But the question now out there is, what is in it for the ordinary Zimbabweans, or rather, what were the most significant achievements that we can draw from this summit?
So ordinarily, let's face the fact that the SADC Summit is rotational. So Zimbabwe had to host it because it was Zimbabwe's turn. This is where you were informed by His Excellency the President that you are a SADC chair. And every one of us is SADC chair because the SADC chair is Zimbabwe. So there we had no option but to host this. But we did it very well. We have legacies already there for everyone to see. The boulevard, the road itself, the number of roads which were rehabilitated around that time. Still, we continue to do the work. The attendance itself showed Zimbabwe's diplomacy pedigree at its best. Because, as you know, this was the highest attended summit in the last 10 years, with the number of countries represented at head of state level. It is unprecedented. The essence of hosting a regional summit of that nature, where there are 16 member states represented at that level, is all about diplomacy. And it shows that Zimbabwe is well engaged within the region because foreign affairs is one of our key deliverables as a country. How are we relating to our neighbors? Particularly in the area of our African continental free trade area. Our intra-SADC trade can only make us trade better with the rest of the region, or rather with the rest of the continent. So yeah, in terms of diplomacy, this was the pinnacle of our diplomacy on display.
Yeah, that's fantastic. In terms of the infrastructural development, we saw it. But safe to say, it was just constrained within the capital. What are people in Rwanda, in Berengwa, any other people in the countryside, what can they take from the summit?
Oh no, it wasn't just about the capital because we didn't stop developments elsewhere. You know, in terms of infrastructural projects, some of the biggest infrastructural projects in the country are in Matubele North, Kwaishangani. From 1912, suddenly it's in acceleration and we are where we are, about 70% complete. The Matubele Zambezi water project, you see where it is now. You saw pipes being laid. Yesterday or 2 days ago, Cabinet resolved that the Bulawayo Victoria Falls Road has to be rehabilitated and upgraded. It has nothing to do with the SADC Summit. Even around that time, all our airports were upgraded. At that very time, around the SADC Summit, Bulawayo, the major ones, Bulawayo or Joshua Nkomo Airport and Victoria Falls Airport were upgraded. And the communication was around that this is legacy for the country. It had nothing to do with the capital. Of course, the capital was hosting. Like in any other country, only one place can host. We do not spread it. But the legacy of that event was national in character, national in scope.
They were so busy, meaning the capital was busy in terms of roads being constructed and so forth.
Correct.
That seemed to have gone down.
No, it hasn't gone down. The level of hive that was there definitely has subsided. It was inconvenient, you know that, when everything was being done. So the roads are still being rehabilitated around. Some roads are being finished. The hotels, they're still happening. In Masvingo, you know what's happening at Great Zimbabwe Hotel. In Victoria Falls, same. Lodges are still being built around. But it's just the level of activity. I mean, it's natural even at your house. You don't continue doing things the way you were gonna do, or you were doing when you were expecting visitors, or Wakwasha when they are coming to Zorora. When they were kind of Wakwasha Wakaenda,
So we're doing this for the guests.
Muno continue kita normal. Munaita normal. There are things we have to say. There is a scaling up when you're expecting visitors. That's standard.
So for interest sake,
Sure.
What became of the villas?
The villas is of Monday, 10 were complete. So with 8 to go. This week we're expecting some more trucks to come with the building material, and next week some will be coming. I can assure you that the villas will be completed, all of them.
The initial plan was obviously to accommodate the guests. What happened?
Not exactly. The initial plan, which is still the current plan, is to build a hotel and a golf course around those villas. So the villas were the trigger to, or the motivator, or rather catalyst to tourist activity, recreational activities. And once they are complete, then the hotel developer will come. Government has to be a catalyst for development so that private sector can join in. And the building itself was another one. We know that there's a cyber city being built around there. Something is happening around the same site. So the villas, yes, if we had completed them around the summit or before the summit, they would have been used. But were we ever short of accommodation? No. Did we have any embarrassment as regards a high-profile visitor who had nowhere to go or to sleep? No. Everyone was more than comfortable. And if we were to share with you the reviews we got from the heads of state, you would be proud to be a Zimbabwean, because we are full of projects.
Okay, but maybe I need to repeat this question again. What can I take to my relatives, precisely I love Mberengwa, in terms of the benefits of us, not just hosting, but also even assuming the chairmanship? You heard the president say everybody is the chairman now. What message can I take to them and say these are the benefits of us hosting and chairing the regional bloc from now until next year? The
successes of it. You see, for a long time, Zimbabwe was considered a pariah. Diplomatically, people were not, we did not have a shine to our sheen. We were the stepchildren of regarded as the stepchildren of the region. And some detractors even try to make legitimacy an issue around that summit. But all that went away to show that Zimbabwe's democracy is at the right level. It's not just so much about infrastructure. It's about how we are perceived as a country. It's about when you draw out your passport at any border post, can you hold your head high?
What made Zimbabwe to be perceived as a pariah state?
Well, number one, the issues around sanctions. Number two, unfortunately, among our own detractors, some locally, some internationally, we had a diplomatic war. We were considered a pariah. We fought from that. And right now, Zimbabwe is an international good news.
What makes one country maybe to be perceived as a pariah state? Let's remove Zimbabwe from the picture.
Well, American diplomacy, if I'm going to be blunt. Right now, if America says Iran must be considered a pariah and then impose sanctions against Iran, which they have done, a lot of takers will go that way. We saw that happening with Russia. They tried to isolate Russia, and unfortunately, they have a lot of takers. But you see, when Russia hosted the Russia-Africa Summit, and a lot of African countries, in fact, one of the best attended summits there, it was the pinnacle of Russia's diplomacy. That's the same with Zimbabwe. You hold a good international summit where it's well attended. When people are trying to isolate you, it shows you are still mainstreamed. It shows you belong to a community of nations. It shows you are not a pariah. You are normal. And when your head of state is considered normal, when your country is considered normal, you are being considered normal as a national. So go and tell your grandmother in Berengwa that, Nana, you are normal.
But PS, we need to be clear here.
Sure.
What does it mean when a country is regarded as a pariah state? Let's remove Zimbabwe from the picture. But if someone asks you to say, what does when a country is regarded as pariah, what does that mean?
Okay, let me probably break it down for you. When in your village you are considered to be a witch, right? Mm-hmm. What does that mean? It means nobody wants to even loan you some salt. It means nobody wants to walk with you when you go to fetch some firewood. It means that when you appear at a village ball, everybody scatters away. That's what it means to be a pariah. Wanzuri muroi. Hapana dokushamwaridzana newe. Isolation is a bad thing. It's lonely out there. That's why we join a number of organizations. That's why we're a member of the EAU. That's why we're a member of SADC, NAM, COMESA, among many other organizations. It's because it's very important to be at the table where decisions are made, particularly in the international arena. That's what it means to be a member of the Committee of Nations. But the reverse is correct. When you are meant to be a pariah, you are isolated. You are the leper of that Committee of Nations. So nobody wants to be associated with you. But that will affect your trade. That will affect how your nationals are treated. That will affect your passport holders. That will affect investment in your country. Particularly, it will affect tourism as well. Because nobody wants to go to that country. Because they believe everything is wrong with that country. An hour ago, if not two, I had a meeting elsewhere with somebody who had to be persuaded to come to Zimbabwe, to Harare. And they came 2 days ago. And you know what they were telling me? I was so surprised. Last night, I was walking around the streets of Harare. Peaceful, safe, no need for a bodyguard or anything, which I hardly do in many cities. The nightlife is not as safe as I've experienced in Zimbabwe, the best I've experienced. That's the effect of not being a pariah. That's the effect of being a good news story.
So the pariah tag is now gone?
It's gone. I mean, did you follow the Grand Tour? Do you know how many countries wanted to host the finale? And these British guys chose Zimbabwe. That would never have happened in the last 20 years. British choosing to come to Zimbabwe to do a finale where, you know, the show is watched by 40-something million people. And all the snippets you're seeing, everyone is seeing Zimbabwe in its best form. Zimbabwe with its best foot forward. It doesn't normally happen. But of all the countries in the world, it had to be Zimbabwe. Of course, that's more evidence that we're not a pariah. We're a mainstream country. In fact, those people, Jeremy was saying, we are the best. Because everything you see has got character. You move from this place to that place, different character, different offering.
But what made Zimbabwe to end the pariah state status? Oh,
you are still zoning on pariah. We took our land. And when we took our land from people that did not believe they should lose their land, they isolated us. They fought us with everything in them to make sure that we are made an example to any other African country or any other country that would ever think of taking its land back. Because, you know, America took land from the native Indians. So if the native Indians would say we want our land back, what would have happened? Or what would happen? Following Zimbabwe's example, you know the British took land from the Kenyans. Now, the Germans in Namibia, they took land. The Afrikaners in Namibia, they took land. The Dutch took land from South Africans.
But do
you want me to carry on? The Maoris took land. Sorry, the British took land from the Maoris in New Zealand. And of course, you know what happened in Australia. You just, in Israel as well. So you just need one to decide to follow the example of Zimbabwe. So Zimbabwe is a country that was offering the world thought leadership. It had to be made an example to say, if you go down this road, this is what is going to happen to you. So we're made an example of in a negative way.
Do you have any problems with the Americans?
No, I don't have a problem with the Americans, but I've got a problem with their sanctions on us. I've got a problem with what they attempted to do to us. And I've got a problem with them undermining our national sovereignty.
Let's finish the SADC part. I know
Don't be all over the place.
There were some resolutions, of course.
Yeah.
One of them, obviously, is to deal with insurgencies, maybe in Mozambique, DRC, issues of climate change. What do you see as challenges or that stands in the way of resolving or addressing these issues?
Okay, let's talk about, let's deal with them one by one. So when it comes to Mozambique, actually the SADC mission was closed down during this summit. I think it was called SAMIM. So that was shut down. And the part of the outcome was the region was very grateful. And Mozambique was very grateful to what the region did to resolve the insurgents at Cabo Delgado. So that was significant because it meant that Mozambique is now in peace. Then we moved to the DRC. A special representative office was established during the summit as a resolution that there must be a special representative office. And of course, the DRC head of state expressed a lot of gratitude to the region for the way it has tried to bring peace and help with issues that are happening because of M23 and other issues in the DRC. But the region is resolved that they will stand with the DRC. And you know what the DRC mission is, which was established again at the SADC Summit. So those are very good outcomes.
But what are the challenges in terms of achieving those resolutions?
Well, the challenges in achieving resolution, particularly when it comes to peacekeeping rather, are always around resources. The region does not have a big fund where its peacekeepers can go to any country and maintain peace. So normally when that happens, we need third parties to come and help us with the funding. That is a problem with the region. It is also a problem with the continent itself, where our peacekeepers, again, we have to rely maybe the EU on maybe in other international multilateral institutions to support us. I believe Africa at some point should be able to do its own thing. When we deploy our peacekeepers, we should be able to fund rather than have third parties do that for us. Because remember, we are saying internal solutions to internal problems, regional solutions to regional problems. So we can't have regional solutions to regional problems when we can't fund our own solutions. We frame a solution, we should be able to fund it. I think that's a challenge.
You hosted a very fantastic and historic summit.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
But there is a taint that is being placed in the run-up and even post the summit, the reported issue of human rights violations.
That's what is called atrocity propaganda. There were no human rights issues. Absolutely none. Yes, there were people that broke the law, thinking that they will go under the cover and umbrella of the summit, and the summit will give them immunity. No. We do not have laws that operate around summit and laws that operate outside summit. If you break the law around summit, you will face the wrath of that law. Simple. So there are people that are perceived to have broken the law. Their cases are now before the courts, and they are going through their own due process. And I'm not going to sit here in judgment of whether they were guilty or not. I think that's for the judiciary to do. They should adjudicate over the cases. And I prefer not to speak about cases that are before the courts, in case we interfere with those cases.
The 79 CC activists, including the apartheid administrator Jameson Timber, were arrested while at a private residence. And the 12 of these people, you don't want to talk about cases that are ongoing,
yeah,
but we want to speak about the 12 that have been acquitted to have not committed any crime. But these are the people who have spent 3 months in jail.
Okay, maybe you need a little bit of a crash course on the judiciary. When you are said when the court says you are not guilty, the court is not saying you are innocent. Do you get it? Therefore, that's why it's difficult to look for compensation, because it doesn't mean you are innocent. It just means that the evidence that were proffered, where it did not have enough weight to pass the threshold of beyond reasonable doubt. But it doesn't mean you're innocent. So don't use that as an excuse to say, well, if anyone was arrested and then they went to court and they were found not guilty, therefore there was an abuse of human rights. No, it wasn't. Even if you are arrested for rape, is there something? Maybe you're not innocent. Maybe the case could not be proved only. But the court never declares anyone innocent. Very, very rarely. So don't come across as if you're saying, well, the 9 or whatever number of people were innocent. They were not. Because then the court never declared them to be so.
No, the court really said they have no case to answer. They are not guilty. And the opposite of guilt is innocent.
No, the opposite of guilt is not guilty when it comes to court processes. In fact, the court said they were not guilty. The court did not say they were innocent. You are missing the point. They were not declared innocent.
That means they did not commit any crime.
No, that means that there was not enough evidence to convict them. That's all. That's what it means. That's why when that situation happens, somebody can decide to appeal, or somebody can decide, I won't be able to get more evidence, so they will leave the case be.
Yes, was this a coincidence that in the run-up to the SADC Summit, we start to see people committing crimes?
It wasn't a coincidence. There were mischief makers who thought they would gain immunity from the presence of the heads of state, or in the climate of the SADC Summit, that Zimbabwe will be so hesitant to act decisively because there's a summit going on. I think it happens at your house as well. When there are visitors, one little kid may decide to be very naughty because believes that if mom won't touch me if auntie is here. A decisive mom will touch you when auntie is there because you're being naughty. You think the auntie will give you immunity. The auntie will not give you immunity.
The PS, there seemed to be a challenge actually, because during that time when the opposition people gathered or tried to do some event or activity, they will always end up being apprehended or arrested. This was not happening to people from ZANU-PF who will be doing marches. I'll give you an example, marches that were happening in Mrewa, some marches that happened in Mashonaland East, apparently, of course, for other things that we may not mention. But these people never got arrested. But these ones now, gathering at a private residence, they get arrested. What do you make of such things?
Very simple. I don't know about these other cases you're talking about for demonstrations happening or whatever matches happening. I'm not aware of them, but I would want to assume that they met the requisite of the law, they applied, and then did correctly. They notified the police as in terms of MOPA. These other ones, what I'm aware of around that case, which you want to discuss, which is again sub judice, but it doesn't matter, we'll talk the bits you want us to talk about. As far as I'm concerned, people were arrested for pelting the police, for attacking the police. The police had to ask for reinforcements to come. So if you attack police because there's a summit going on, you will be arrested. And you tell me something, why are people not asking to demonstrate right now? Why are they not gathered at the house, as you are saying? Why not now? Why were they gathering then? What was the point? The same reason you are saying there seems to have been an escalation of arrests around that time. But I'm saying there seems to have been an escalation of mischief around that time. That's the point.
I was following this case very closely.
Which case?
The SADC 79.
Yeah.
And one of the state witnesses actually confirmed that the disorderly behavior of these people started only after the arrival of the police. Before they arrived, they were gathered peacefully. So
if the police arrive at your house, you're going to be disorderly. Is that a trigger for disorderliness? Is that your thinking? Or is that your argument? That the police came, so the police were a trigger for violence?
No, but
in other countries, police are called peace officers. Do you get it? Peace officers. So if the police come, there's a gathering, and the police come to maybe to investigate what is going on, you don't pelt them with the stones. You don't throw missiles at them. Those stones have not been found, Piers. So when there was, a physical visit to the place. That's a case that has to be proved in court. right, that there were no stones. Because these people, the court has decided that these people have got a case to answer.
The people who are alleged to have been injured, they haven't been seen.
I don't know that. You tell me.
No medical reports that says, reports actually, that say...
I haven't seen the docket, mate. I haven't seen the docket. I think maybe you were privy to the contents of that docket, and now you're telling us what evidence is in that docket. As far as I'm concerned, as long as the case is still before the courts, evidence will be proffered and the court will make a judgment. But you want me to sit down here now to take over the job of the magistrate or judge who is supposed to adjudicate over this case and weigh the evidence and say there is no evidence, there is evidence. I think here we were overstretching our mandate. Let's not talk about the evidence in those dockets, because now, look, I sit in a position of authority. Mm-hmm. Somebody is going to say, including lawyers, but Mangwana said, or the government spokesperson said this and that, and caught me in court. And it has happened so many times. You know, around Job Scala's case, I was quoted so many times. You know, around Tendabi's case, I was quoted way too many times. Joanna Momebe's case, I was quoted way too many times. I said I do not want to discuss a case before the courts.
Yeah, the reason why I asked is to say whether
Costa,
this was...
I'm not going to answer any more questions around the 79.
Yeah, but of course, this is not 79 alone.
I said I'm not going to answer any case which is before the courts.
Okay, that's
so
fine.
Move to any other case. These ones I will not answer.
I want your response.
Okay.
Your party spokesperson.
No, I'm not party spokesperson.
The ZANU-PF spokesperson, Mr. Chris Mangwana, said this.
So which party are you saying your party? Which is my party?
I thought we agreed earlier that the governing party is ZANU-PF.
Yeah, but it doesn't say every civil servant is a member of the party. Every civil servant implements the policies of the party.
Here's the question.
So say the party spokesperson.
The ZANU-PF party spokesperson
sure.
said these people were arrested because we did not want them to, attract some...
So Costa.
This is why I was asking whether this was coincidental.
So Costa, do you want a spokesperson for ZANU-PF spokesperson? Because Comrade Chris Mangwana is spokesperson for ZANU-PF. It means he can speak for himself. If you want any points of clarity, you go to him. I don't act as his spokesperson to expand or, explain, elaborate on what you would have said. When you want those elaborations, you go to him. Those are his follow-up questions, not mine. So ask me something to do with policy and something to do with government. I do not explain Comrade Chris Mangwana's statements.
Let's leave the 79 aside. The three pro-democracy activists again, Robson Chere, Namatai Kwekweza, Samuel Gwenzi, were actually arrested at the airport on 31 July. Again,
so
human rights defenders say this was human rights violations.
There's nothing called the human rights defender. The human rights defender is the Constitution.
The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission actually is investigating.
Yeah, so let's not preempt the investigation.
No, but
they are investigating. Look, so let's not preempt the investigation.
So
why do you want me to run ahead of every cut that's there? Everyone is doing their job. Every institution is doing their job. Why do you want me to run ahead of it? Come to me and say, there was this finding. Can you comment as government on this finding? There's no finding there, so I'm not commenting.
Okay, because what we see...
Oh, yeah, you see things, but I said I'm not commenting on anything that's under investigation.
In most of the cases, when these people are arrested, they are acquitted by courts. You know the example of Job Scala, who spent 595 days in jail. And the High Court said the man is innocent.
No, the High Court never said the man is innocent. Where do you get it wrong, Costa? I said nobody has been declared innocent. Job Scala was never declared innocent.
Not guilty.
Okay, now we're talking. But it was on appeal, wasn't it? On some of the cases. It was on appeal. It meaning at the first rung, the magistrate found that he was guilty. And then somebody else made a decision that he wasn't. That is only testimony to the impartiality and independence of our judiciary. That's the evidence that our judiciary is impartial and independent. Give them a pom-pom.
I put it to you, perhaps, to say, because of what I read, even on social media. That
you read wrong things anyway, I think. But go on.
That the pariah tag seemed to be still there.
How can it be a pariah? I mean, why would we be a pariah when we do everything that every international country does, except that we have sanctions still on us? illegal sanctions for that, unilaterally declared coercive measures for that matter, which the UN has spoken on, which the AU has spoken on, and which SADC spoke on. You were talking about SADC resolutions, and the resolution 21 from the communique is that sanctions against Zimbabwe should be removed, which is an effort to isolate us. That's what you should be speaking to. But no, you are jumping all that. You are talking. You seem to have been sent by 79 people to come and try to, resolve their case in my office. Yeah, let's talk about the outcome of the SADC. That's what you have there. That's what you said you want to talk about. But no, there's only one issue you want. 79, 4, 3. What was that? You're just rolling out numbers.
It's fine, Piers.
It's definitely fine, Costa.
Let's go to another section.
Sure.
Zimbabwe is currently facing the El Nino-induced drought.
Yes.
How have you fared as a government in your efforts to feed the approximately 9 million Zimbabweans who are hungry right now?
We've done very well. I think you can say when you move around the country, there's no palpable hunger because government is making interventions. People are being given food at village level because every village head has been given their allocation. Every traditional leader has been given their allocation also of food to give to their communities. At urban level, people are getting the cash for food program. So I think we've fared very well. At learners level, people are being fed in schools. At least they are getting 1 meal a day. And as a country, I think we have shown that we do have safety nets. And we've done extremely well. The president was out of the blocks very fast to declare a state of disaster and therefore mobilize international support to come and help the catastrophe, which is not a Zimbabwe-based catastrophe, but a regional catastrophe. And I think the response that we received both from the UN, its agencies, and other friendly countries also speaks well in volumes of Zimbabwe's diplomacy.
You made an appeal of approximately 3 billion.
Yes.
How much have you received so far?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, no. But we have received substantial support. But remember, the appeal was supposed to start from the time when the appeal was made all the way to the next harvest, which is around April, May next year. So support continues to come. And I think today, even now, the president was receiving some support. Last week, he received some support from. So it will continue to come, but I can't tell you off the top of my head how much we've received. But I think as we roll on, and we also are getting the winter harvest in, so we are in a good place. Yeah.
I was speaking to someone who was saying you seem to get your priorities wrong. Citing one example that happened recently last week, that amidst the drought, you give chiefs vehicles. You said you're getting priorities wrong as a government.
They don't know the definition of priority, because in my last statement around the drought, I told you that traditional leaders have been given the responsibility of feeding their communities. They go around the communities to see who is in dire need. Do you want a chief to sit at their house or homestead and wait for everybody to come and say so-and-so is hungry? But the chief has to go around the community to check the welfare of their people. So if a chief doesn't have a vehicle to do that, or that cannot even carry the allotment they are getting of maize and food relief, how do you want them to do their job to make sure that the people are fed? You have a problem with that chief being mobile? And you say when the chief is given mobility, oh, you're getting your priorities wrong? Don't you know that in any operation, the biggest issue is logistics? And where do you place logistics if you don't have a vehicle? Even to get maize to Chibi or Mberengwa there, how do you get maize there? Do you carry it on your back? Or you have to get a truck to go there? And when it gets there, to move from there to homesteads, or to go and feed somebody who is starving there, what do you need? A vehicle to check and assess the state of your
In my experience, what I have witnessed is that food aid is delivered at a certain point, and the people actually go there to the center, to any point that would have been decided or communicated. They ferry their maize, whatever kind of food that they are giving, using scotch carts, wheelbarrows, and so forth, taking all that home, not using really.
No, the chief. No, actually, the chiefs are the custodians of the food that comes at that level. Not only chiefs, of course, the village heads. They are custodians of food that come there. They are, the list of people who is vulnerable, who is not, comes from the chiefs. The chiefs have to move around. They have to be mobile around that community. Nobody wants a chief or an MP, for that matter, who does not visit their constituency. And when I talk of a constituency, I mean the people in situ. People don't have to come to the chief all the time like we're going to Matare. The chief says to know where. My chief in my own home village has been to my homestead many times.
So these vehicles were simply given to chiefs to distribute food aid?
No, to help with mobility and for them to execute their other roles. There are development projects in every district headed by the chiefs, spearheaded by the chiefs. Yesterday, I had journalists, including you, asking me if we could, get journalists duty-free vehicles so that they can go where the news is. Just news. The chiefs are going where the people are. And they're not looking for news. They are going where the vulnerables are. They are going where the projects are. If you believe that journalists don't need to be mobile, then chiefs don't need to be mobile.
Here's another issue, Pierce.
Yeah.
You can say they were given vehicles to make their work easier.
That's the fact.
That's what the president said.
It's because that's the fact.
But previously, the finance minister, Professor Mtungwe, said in parliament that the money which was used to buy these vehicles initially was not in the budget.
I'm not aware of that statement, so I can't comment on it. But I know one thing, when we reach a crisis level, because food security, when you have El Nino, it's always a crisis. Because when it's declared a national state of disaster, it's a crisis.
You can use the money
to make sure that food gets to the people and to make sure that the people's suffering is alleviated. Yes, we can, because these are extraordinary circumstances.
But because I'm just trying to think how much 15 or so million could they have done.
I don't know about, I don't believe these vehicles costed 15 million, just for the record. I saw some report which you are referring to, which said in the last 6 years, government used 15 million. In the last 6 years, not now. Not on these very few vehicles.
Yeah, but that's a very good amount when you're looking at the challenge that we are facing as a country. The food aid thing. I'm just trying to imagine how much, what that figure could have done in terms of feeding the people.
I don't know, but I know that we use much more on food by a long mile, and I know that we need the chiefs to be able to assess who actually is food insecure, which community needs which development projects, and I know that the chiefs are at the center of our development programs, because we started community level, and I know that the chiefs need to be mobile to be able to do that.
There's another challenge there.
Yeah.
Some actually saying giving chiefs vehicles is a political issue. Because I'm also trying to see how when someone is given a vehicle and is going to stand apolitically or opposing a governing party when they are actually supposed to be apolitical.
They are not, chiefs are not supposed to oppose a government party. MPs get vehicles, including those from the opposition. They get vehicles from government, right? Do they then support government? No. So vehicles are not a political gimmick. Vehicles are a mobility enabler. That's all. That's all. Chiefs are part of government in the sense, they are not part of a political party, but they are part of government because they are the heads of development in their chiefdoms.
The question is, how would they manage to obtain that middle of the road approach or being neutral in political matters.
Because you've been given a government vehicle.
We have seen chiefs, some of them, the former president of the country.
I'm asking you.
Being taken to courts for siding with a certain political party, violating the constitution. And here is the issue: after being given vehicles, will they manage to adopt and stand the middle of the road approach and not political?
Let me get your logic here, Costa. So chiefs should suffer. They should not be able to visit communities so that they can be opposed to government. Is that what? Or so that they can remain neutral? Is that the only way chiefs can remain neutral? Let them suffer. Let them live purpose lives in the communities as leaders of the communities, so that they can be perceived to be neutral. Is that your logic? No, it's just make me understand that so that I can do justice to your question. Is that your logic?
No, what I want to seek from you is
make me understand
the neutrality after being given.
I've asked you a question.
This question is coming because we have seen cases of chiefs being taken to court. Fortune Charumbira, for example, has been taken to court.
You are saying chiefs, but you're talking of one chief.
That's the president. There are so many.
No, he's not the president.
The cases are many.
No, I don't know them, but the opposition has been taken to parliament. Okay, let's leave that aside for a second. I said opposition MPs have been given vehicles by government. They've been given diplomatic passports by government. And they have been given loans by government. Did they then toe the line of the ruling party?
Yeah, whether it's the opposition getting cars or chiefs getting cars, but do you agree that this is perhaps getting priorities wrong? You can stop it.
No, I don't know where your question is. Are you talking of priorities or these people don't deserve vehicles? I've explained where the priority is, that logistics is the priority. That's logistics. That's it. And you can never downplay the essence of logistics. When you came here, you needed to be able to get these cameras and everything here, isn't it? And that's logistics. And you can't dismiss it to say it means nothing. Because if you needed a vehicle to come here.
Vision 2030.
Okay.
What does it mean?
It means that every Zimbabwean or most Zimbabweans will reach a certain threshold of income, which can be called an upper middle income status. That's what it means. And that's the effort the government is engaged in.
How can that, is it going to be realizable looking at the challenge that you are facing right now, for example, power cuts, power outages?
Yes. There are already programs, if you read the NDS 1, there are already programs to make sure that we are power self-sufficient and we are a net exporter actually of power. So those programs are already running, but every power development project or energy development project is longitudinal. It's not something that you just snap, you got sufficient energy. There are some projects that will be coming on the grid in 6 years' time. There are some which are coming in 3 years' time. There's which are coming in 2 years' time. But by 2030 will be self-sufficient, yes.
How is that going to be?
Because they are programs. What do you mean by how is that going to be? If we are building a power station and then it feeds to the national grid, we are going to be self-sufficient, aren't we?
Yeah, but we're talking of Zimbabwe having attained independence for 4 years now.
And the NDS 1 did not start in 1980.
Yeah, but so what's lacking maybe is foresight to see that we're going to face challenges. Because, for example, if we may not receive enough rains that we use, obviously we know, to generate some of our power, we use water from Kariba, and right now its capacity is at a very minimum. So if this happens even for the next 4 years, what are the plans? Can we attain Vision 2030?
Yes, I've told you we have a number of power projects, particularly in Matabeleland North. Most of them actually do not rely on hydropower from Kariba or from the Zambezi Valley River. The only one that relies on that is the Batoka. The rest are plastered across the country. Zimbabwe is one of the most dammed countries in the world, in Africa actually, sorry. We've got over 10,000 dams. And every dam that we have, we are putting a hydropower station. Every substantial dam. From some we'll be getting 15 megawatts, from some we'll be getting 22 and so on. But put that aside, we are harvesting gas. We are going to have gas-driven power stations, and we're taking advantage of our solar. The sunlight that we have in Zimbabwe, to build more solar projects, including independent power projects. So yes, we will reach Vision 2030.
I was speaking to one of the industrialists in the industrial areas.
Sure.
And you were saying you had stopped working for 3 days because there was no power.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to place that side by side in our vision for Vision 2030.
You're being very myopic, Costa. Very myopic, very short-sighted. We said Vision 2030 is not a snap program where we say right now, or we snap our fingers, all Zimbabwe's problems are gone and we are at this level. There is a roadmap towards attainment of Vision 2030. You have zoned on power sufficiency, and I'm telling you that we have these projects which will give us more sufficient power in 2-3 years' time. All our power needs will be sorted. But we don't only do that. We have the net metering as a program itself, where other companies have gone off grid, but they feed the grid. Like, for example, Tonga Toilet, they generate their own power, and the excess power they put on the grid. Econet generates its power, and all the power and the excess power is put on the grid. We have households now that are going towards net metering, and this is at a very macro level. And it's all part of NDS 1, which is the vision that we're driving. So don't look at today's problems and then think because we have this problem now, there's no roadmap to where we want to go. Vision 2030 has got a roadmap which started with TSP and then NDS 1. Next year, we're kicking off NDS 2. And by the time NDS 2 is accomplished, Vision 2030 will be realized. Question the roadmap. Then we can talk. But don't say, because I've got a tire puncher right now, and somebody's telling you that I've just bought new tires, and the roadmap is we're going to put new tires there, we're going to do an engine overhaul there, and we're going to do that there, and we're going to sort that road there. Then we still get there. We're not going to get there because today I've got a tire puncher. I think that's being very short-sighted.
You've been having some of these very nice policies before. The Zima said, so many of them, even the manifestos, in the run-up to elections, it's very nice promises and very nice visions. They've never materialized.
I don't think you are right to say they've never materialized, because I will start, for example, with the Zim asset, and the people will talk of mega projects and so forth. Zim asset actually realized a lot of his deliverables. What was the target for Zim asset? If you can answer that, then I'll show you how the target was met. But you don't know the target, isn't it? But Vision 2030's target is very clear, that most Zimbabweans should be having a certain income. And that's the target. And the building blocks to that is certain infrastructure projects and certain things done. For example, we are revamping all irrigation schemes and building more. Making sure that the dams I'm talking about can convey water to the fields. To ensure that we don't rely on rainfall to feed the nation. And by 2030, definitely, wherever we need an irrigation, there will be an irrigation. That's the realization of Vision 2030. Village horticultural schemes, they are being established. And I'm sure there are some in Berengwa right now. And when that family that's benefiting from that irrigation scheme sells their vegetables and whatever, and they have the nutrition gardens and so on. That's the realization of Vision 2030.
One which was proposed close to Mataga. That was 2003, 2004. Until now, nothing has happened.
Let's talk about it in 2030. It would be realized, and that vision will be actualized.
Yes, thank you very much for finding time to speak to us.
Thank you for talking to me.